So you could probably guess that in an environment like, I don't know, a bunch of sweaty, testosterone-filled dudes just with egos and stuff, that there would be fights, right? There would be some scraps. There would be some kerfuffles. We've heard about some legendary ones backstage. Someone said something or someone went all on for themselves out there in the ring and they had to get checked for it. Well, we've got 10 backstage wrestling fights you didn't know about. Now, disclaimer, I know some of you wrestling historians definitely know everything on this list most likely, because sometimes you guys write the paragraphs and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm learning today. But that's what we're doing. If this is your first time on the channel, guess what? You can't leave. You're stuck hanging out with me for like the next 15 minutes at least. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. If you click away now, guess what? I'm gonna find you. If you're a youngin', I do want you to get out of here though, because I do not create content for the little ones. I speak with colorful language I'm reacting in. I don't want to get you in trouble. So scram, yo weenie. Would you like to support the original creator of the concept? Click the top link in the description. If you would like to react to the content with us on Twitch, click the bottom link. With that being said, I'm ready. I'm getting ready. It's time. Chat is telling you gotta here for your little one. You gotta go. What's going on, Doom? We're reacting. Let's go. Grab your things. It's time.
You're on the road, you're hurting, your colleagues are annoying you, you're in an enclosed space, you're all jacked up and full of adrenaline, somebody says or does the wrong thing. Inevitably, there's going to be a fight. Backstage fights are hardly a rare occurrence in professional wrestling, and some end up taking on a life of their own, growing in mythic proportions with each shoot interview retelling. Some of these backstage fights, which, remember, were probably only witnessed by at most a handful of people, become legendary, often thanks to the absurdity of the situations and the people involved. Sid, Brian Pillman, and a squeegee, anyone? Some backstage brawls, on the other hand, manage to either get swept under the rug or, for whatever reason, just aren't as readily referenced as they become forgotten over time. Even ones involving true icons of the industry become mere footnotes, an anecdote briefly mentioned in passing. And that is a damn shame, because if there's one thing we need more of, it's tales of behind-the-scenes beefs that turned ugly.
Here, I love hearing about the backstage shit so much more than like the actual stories and shit that they're telling on TV. I don't know what it is. Like, as an adult, I find it fascinating to hear like wrestlers that never interacted on screen like had beef backstage. Like, yo, my man said, did you know Chris Jericho popped up on Brock Lesnar after he busted open Randy Orton? Bow. Bow. Who? What? The fuck is Chris Jericho doing against Brock? That's a real demon back there. Shout out to Chris. He's a real one for that, by the way. That's a real one. that might be a real tale.
So I, Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, bring you as a piece of public service 10 accounts of backstage wrestling fights you probably didn't know about. Join us. Number 10, Eddie Guerrero versus Road Warrior Hawk. Eddie Guerrero was no stranger to butting heads with his...
That's my goat. That's my goat. I'm not going to say it again. That's my goat.
Co-workers. The fiery Latino heat had well-publicized backstage scraps with Kurt Angle and Charlie Haas, as well as others across his decades in the business. One of the physical altercations most people don't know about, however, is the time he challenged Road Warrior Hawk during...
Oh, this motherfucker is massive, dude. Look at the fucking muscles, bro. Oh, no way, man. Hell no. You can't break that neck if you tried. Fuck Joe.
A tour of Japan in the mid-90s. The incident was kept quiet until Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer spoke about it when Hawk passed away in 2003, with Eddie later going into further detail in his autobiography. Basically, Guerrero liked to have a drink or 2 or 10 when working overseas and would turn into something he and the rest of the boys called Eddie the Giant. After After pounding the brewskis all night, Eddie would grow another couple of feet taller and add another couple of 100 pounds of muscle, happy to take on anyone and everyone who looked at him sideways. One night, it was the Road Warrior who bore the brunt of Eddie's wrath, the obvious mismatch going in favor of Hawk when he knocked his smaller foe out cold. Guerrero was furious about it when he came to the day after, but soon realized he had been in the wrong, and the two men eventually patched up their
My goat got slumped? My goat got robbed? Alright, y'all, we ending the stream. We ending the video right now. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for coming out to the stream. Yo, fucking imagine?
differences, with Hawk also expressing regrets that it escalated as far as it did. Number 9, Big Show versus Chavo Guerrero. Of course, challenging much larger men to fisticuffs is not just a
Yo, Chavo versus Big Show? Respect for Chavo. Hella respect. No fear.
trait that belonged to Eddie. Practically every member of the Guerrero clan had a hot temper, including his nephew Chavo. The former tag team and cruiserweight champion apparently lost his mind backstage at a SmackDown taping in December 2004 because he challenged not just a larger man, but the largest to a fight. Chavo had been feeling frustrated for a while as he felt that he and the rest of his smaller-sized contemporaries were being overlooked. Despite their hard work and effort, the likes of Chavo, Paul London, and Billy Kidman were rarely rewarded by management. Big Show had no such problems, as his size and main event status meant that he would be a constant feature on television.
Yeah, Vince definitely did have a boner for the bigger dudes, right? Like, the cruiserweight fellas were definitely getting shafted crazy. On for it. I used to love the cruiserweights on SmackDown, man. That was like my favorite shit to see.
Even if he had grown somewhat sluggish and undisciplined as he had at this point. Reports at the time suggested that Chavo had overheard a comment from Show talking about smaller wrestlers and responded by calling him fat and lazy. Not content with words, Chavito launched himself at Show and tried to fight him, which ended exactly as you would imagine it would, with the world's largest athlete shoving him halfway across the locker.
Why did I have to cut? All right, cutting to Chavo's slump is one thing, right? But cutting to him slump with the bald spot is great. It's oh my god.
Room twice. Chavo showed some guts by getting into it with Show, who had previously been taken to court for damage he had done to a fan during a one-sided bar fight. Thankfully, Show and Chavo made nice afterwards. Number 8, Chad Dick versus James Dick. The SmackDown locker room of the
Dicks battling. Only amount of dicks fighting. Take this one out. Get this out of here. Nobody want to hear about this.
Mid-2000s was notoriously tough on newcomers, especially newcomers who were shorter than 6 foot tall and had the gimmick of being a greased-up Chippendale dancer. The Dicks made their big stiff arrival on the main roster in late 2005, but didn't do a great deal while in the Blue Brands tag scene. Backstage, they were subject to the requisite ribbing from the welcoming committee. JBL and company made work just a lovely place to be for the struggling duo, the comments especially getting under the skin of Chad, while James tried to take it in his stride. Chad was eventually summoned to Wrestlers Court during a tour of Mexico, but got so scared about what was potentially about to go down that he snuck away and accidentally locked the angry mob in the bathroom. They laughed.
Oh no. First of all, if you want to get out of Wrestlers Court, Undertaker already told you how to do it. Just bring like a bottle of Jack for the boys and you're good. Just bring a bottle of Jack.
It off, but when some people saw Chad crying to James about the situation, the ribbing only intensified and ended somehow with James and Chad being made to fight each other. That did not go well for Chad either, as he was roughed up and left with a split lip. Worse still, once news got back to the office, the Dicks were duly given their big spunky release.
What? All right, Adam. Please, with the innuendos, my man, you gotta dial that back. We don't need the big spunky release. Stop. I had a bunch of wrestlers just get you to fight your mans and you both get fired. Like, yes, yes. There. Yeah. Feeling like a whole dickhead now. See? Dickhead.
I bet they both felt really shafted about that one. Knobs. Number 7, William Regal versus Van Hammer. A name that frequently comes up in conversation when discussing wrestlers who can handle themselves outside of the squared circle is William Regal. He broke into the business battling with punters at the tent shows at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, where he legitimately had to defend prize money against paying members of the public who fancied their chances against the wrestlers. Adept at strikes and submissions, Regal entered WCW in the early 90s with a hardman shooter rep. That rep, though, didn't stop Van Hammer, a limited and inexperienced performer who nonetheless had an impressive look and rock star gimmick, from getting into it with the Brit at, of all things, one of Diamond Dallas Page's Christmas parties. Heavy Metal was supposedly bad-mouthing Regal at the soiree, and when Regal heard what was being said, things quickly intensified. By that I mean Regal headbutted Hammer 4 or 5 times right by the punch bowl.
Yo. You know how... Alright, I think the headbutt is a fighting technique that is only reserved for those with anger issues. So for one headbutt to fly out, it's like, oh, he's about to set it off. 4 or 5 headbutts? How did you stay in place for the other, 3? After the first one, how did you stay in place for the rest? How fast was he headbutting him, bro? Yeah, what the fuck?
Giving him a bloody lip. There was a rumor that Van Hammer's wife ridiculed him after the drubbing, and while there's no way to confirm that to be true, I have to include it here because it's...
Your wife really cutting your ass after getting headbutted? The fuck? Being headbutted to submission and then roasted by your wife, that's divorce. That's grounds for divorce. That's grounds for divorce. You're not gonna hold that over me. Cause after that, right? After that, it's like, you getting any archmission? Like, you better show up before I get William Regal to cover your head, bunch of stupid ass. Nikki, no puns, Nikki, no. So you get along with me? Bitch, I will headbutt you. Alright, you know what? You stay right here. I'm calling William up right now. Headbutt you right in his living room, stupid.
Simply too funny not to. Regal hasn't said much about the incident, but did reply to a 2012 tweet asking him which wrestler he compares himself to, cheekily name-checking.
Nah, and then he spun it with the period. Full stop. He spun it like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Yeah, he's a tough guy, I guess. Nah, I'm on the Petty King, bro. Petty King of William Regal, son.
A certain Mr. V. Hammer. Number 6, Diamond Dallas Page versus Firebreaker Chip. The host of that fateful Christmas party, DDP, is also no stranger to throwing down with his colleagues. He famously got his head absolutely caved in by a rampaging Scott Steiner during the dying days of WCW, but that isn't the only time everyone's favorite yoga dad has found himself getting into a bit of backstage argy-bargy. Now, if you struggle to remember Van Hammer, I don't imagine you'll fare much better with Firebreaker Chip. Chip was portrayed by journeyman wrestler Curtis Thompson, who formed the Special Forces tag team with Todd Champion. Firebreaker Chip was a big buff fireman in suspenders, as WCW was seemingly going after the bachelorette party demographic. Special Forces were booked against a pre-Razor Ramon Scott the Diamond Stud Hall, and in his only second ever match, Diamond Dallas Page, on a November 27th, 1991 house show in Baltimore. During the match, Dallas felt like Chip was working too stiff with him and warned him that a receipt was on its way. Tensions flared after Page got his shots in, and the aggro continued when they got behind the curtain, with a shouting match being closely followed by a fight, which ended when DDP used his bouncing experience to subdue Chip with a front facelock.
Damn. Damn. That's always been a real big fear of mine. Like, I don't want to get choked out. Don't let me ever get choked out. We're having a good little fight. We're both on our feet there. Next thing I know, I'm waking up like, oh, what happened? Oh, where's my shoes? My wallet. Oh.
Things cooled down and the pair eventually shook hands and had a beer together, while DDP thanked his lucky stars he didn't come out of the tussle with a black eye, since he was due to marry Kimberly just 4 days later. Number 5, the Hurricane versus Rodney Mack. Stand back! There's a really angry Shane Helms coming through. Helms isn't the biggest of wrestlers by any stretch, but that's never stopped him from standing up and defending himself in the past. He notably got into it with, and got the better of, Buff Bagwell when the two were training shortly after being signed by WWE, and he's also had an admittedly drunken run-in with pal Chris Jericho as well. One physical confrontation that didn't work out for Sugar Shane was when he raised the ire of former WWE star Rodney Mack. The Hurricane and partner Rosie were due to wrestle Mack and Mark Henry on a September 13th, 2003 house show when things got heated as the teams were laying out the match. According to reports from the time, Helms was dictating what would happen in the ring and ignoring Rodney's suggestions, which led to words being exchanged and ended with Mack sending a bloodied Helms to the hospital.
Oh, shit. This is a Wi-Fi to superhero when you know you can win. He can beat that act. Damn. I thought I could... You gotta collaborate for real. Yeah. In spots like this where there's mad ego... Hey, man, as long as we know the finish, right? Like, whoever's going over is going over. Let's work together to get there, though. I mean, Hurricane was like, nah, I'm about to really beat your ass. Nothing but Frankensteiners and bulldogs. I'm wild, though. You gotta get fucked up for 5 minutes straight. It was like, yeah. Actually,
while he did need treatment after the incident, the planned match did go ahead as scheduled, though the result was changed so that Mack and Henry's team went over. There were no lasting repercussions, but both men did receive a talking to about it, and the match was subsequently changed up, with both teams taking on different opponents on future shows. Number 4, Buff Bagwell versus Ernest Miller. A couple of years before Shane Helms launched a water bottle off his head, Buff Bagwell was squaring up with Ernest Miller backstage in WCW. The deal went down at the 1999 Road Wild pay-per-view, but the fracas wasn't the result of one particular isolated incident. Bagwell was generally disgruntled at the fact that Miller had always been booked to look superior and get the upper hand in their exchanges during the feud. Miller, on the other hand, wasn't too pleased with Buff's mocking promo from the July 19th episode of Nitro. By the way, did I mention that the stuff did said promo in full blackface and it featured lots of racial overtone?
Oh, well, alright. Well, but didn't know that was covered. Okay. Well, okay.
Seems quite important, that. Everything came to the boil in Sturgis after Bagwell was informed that he had been penciled in to do the job and then complained to Booker Kevin Nash to get the result changed. During a pre-match meeting, Buff either slapped or attempted to slap Miller, which was a mistake since the Cat was a former karate champion, and rocked him with a...
Nah. Swinging off somebody and then getting dealt with karate is... Yo, no lie, I used to think karate was like, it only taught you how to fight other people that did karate. Well, like, yeah, I couldn't imagine going for like a slap or some shit and getting kicked in the fucking chest. Get what? Okay, well, okay, fight is over. Fight is over.
Couple of solid punches to the face. Buff backed down, and incredibly, the match went ahead as planned that night, with Bagwell winning thanks to some shenanigans. He was removed from the following night's Nitro as a punishment, though. Number 3, Paul Roma versus Coco Beware. I'm sure you, like me, have often sat around and wondered what would happen if Coco Beware and Paul Roma got into a real fight. Whenever I picture the scenario, it usually ends with Frankie the Bird ripping out one of the former Four Horsemen's eyes, but the reality of the situation is, sadly, a bit more mundane. Roma and Ware's backstage fight went down at a WWE show at some point in the late 1980s, and it all came about because the Birdman had heard that the Glory in Power and Glory had said something about him. Supposedly, this was Roma referring to him as buckwheat. Feeling he had a chip on his shoulder, Coco confronted Roma and ended up throwing punches, with Roma trying to subdue him but neglecting to take things further as he feared he would be out of a job if he did. Now, both men have told their own version of this story in various interviews over the years, and both clearly have very different recollections about what actually happened. Roma did go into a lot more detail and claimed that he did give a shot back before people got in the middle of them and broke it up. Neither man was reprimanded, while Roma's attempts to instigate a rematch during a flight were unsuccessful. Number 2, Sheamus versus Sin Cara.
Oh, wait, what? Sheamus and Sin Cara got it too? I'm about to say, bro, like, we need the canon events. What happened? Seems to hit it. Who really got cooked up? Yeah, I never heard about Sheamus and Sin Cara. Hold on.
Sin Cara, the second one, portrayed by the former Hunico, is undefeated in WWE backstage fights, as far as we can tell. His battles with Chris Jericho and Simon Gotch are well known, but fewer people bring up the time that he and Sheamus came to blows. It was said that Cara had an issue with Sheamus's real-life bestie, Drew McIntyre, feeling as though the Scotsman would only shake hands with the established main event level talent, while failing to acknowledge those working lower down on the card. Now, if you've heard any wrestler speak about anything ever, you know that everyone must shake everyone's hand every single time that they see each other, or else. Naturally, the Celtic warrior sided with his buddy and made a comment to the effect of, "I need to use the training table now, I'm more important than you," while the luchador was receiving some treatment prior to the May 5th, 2014 Raw. Accounts vary as to what happened next, but the common belief is that Cara called Sheamus out, and after the Irishman threw a punch, took him down and landed at least one good shot of his own before they were either stopped or it was broken up. Sheamus, who had previously lost a fight to Yoshitatsu, later explained that he thought that Cara was joking, though that doesn't explain why he allegedly threw the first punch.
Sheamus out here getting washed up backstage, not the tough guy on TV, not the big brawler. I'm out here rooting for the pale one and you losing, Sheamus. No! They can...
Naturally, Sheamus won the United States Championship later that night in a battle royal also involving Sin Cara. Number 1, Perry Saturn versus Bam Bam Bigelow.
Big and Irish with no hands? Whoa. Alright. Now I know my man's Perry Saturn definitely was a big brawler back then. But Bam Bam Bigelow was a tough motherfucker though. Hold on, wait a minute. This sounds like a good ass fight. I'm being messy, I know.
Two lads you probably didn't want to cross in any locker room were Perry Saturn and Bam Bam Bigelow. One was a former Army Ranger and Boston bouncer, and the other was a bounty hunter who belonged to motorcycle gangs and had a flame tattooed on his actual head. The Beast from the East and the former Eliminator were not to be messed with, which makes it all the more incredible that someone tried to get them to mess with each other. Talk about the irresistible force meeting the immovable object, eh? According to Saturn, who relayed the story during an appearance on Talk is Jericho, WCW booker Kevin Sullivan gave the finish of a match involving the bald brutes that had Perry going over. The way the finish was laid out didn't sit well with Bammer, since he had just done a similar one in a match with Kanyon in his previous televised match. When he told this to Sullivan, the Taskmaster then informed Perry that his opponent didn't want to do the job for him, and Saturn, not knowing the full context, confronted Bigelow and punched him in the face. A fistfight ensued before DDP intervened and calmed things down. That Diamond Dallas Page, is there anything he can't do? Well, besides beat...
It can't be that simple. He said he don't want to lose. He's wanting a deck to like show what? Strong me got anger issues. You not trying to lose? Bet. The main fuck you talking about? Well, yeah, DDP is definitely he's one of those ones, man. That's not gonna work for me, That's not gonna work for me. If you guys would like to show the original poster of this content, some love, some support, click that top link in the description. Awesome video like always from Cultaholic. I'm out here. I rock with him. I liked it. I learned some stuff. I feel bad that my Guerreros definitely got their asses beat, though. I'm about to fire up 2K24 and then win some matches Eddie real quick. Gotta get the W's back up. Ain't no way. I'm not gonna do me like that. If you need some more content to watch, we have a couple more reactions you can find on the channel. We got some playlists too. Click a playlist. You'll see some more videos. Why not?